What is up, YouTube? My name is Trinity and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. So as you can see, along with the new video, we have a new background, which is still a work in progress, but I think it's getting there. I like the lights, I like having my flag back there, and then having my desk setup also be my recording setup. So today our topic is going to be about the 3 most well-known cryptids in the world. Now, how did I determine this? Mostly by just my opinion. That's fine, because I'm pretty sure most people that are watching this video now have probably heard of these 3, so that's all that matters. So, the first cryptid we are talking about today is probably the most well-known one. It has many different names throughout the world, but basically everywhere the description is the same. Yes, we are talking about Bigfoot, or the Sasquatch, or as it's called in many other countries, fake. Okay, so I'm pretty sure most of us probably know what Bigfoot is, or the idea of him is. Basically between 7 and 12 feet tall, humanoid figure, bipedal, and that's pretty much it. There's many different variations, as I said. In the Himalayas of Tibet and Nepal, he is called the Yeti. He lives up in the mountains, and he's white instead of brown. The Yowie in Australia is probably my favorite one, just because of the name and because of the amazing Scooby-Doo movie that was made based around it. The Yeren from the Philippines and China, and the Orang Pendek from Sumatra. Basically anywhere there is a lot of humans, there are usually these stories. Possibly a future video will be on basically all of these different Bigfoots, but today I'm going to be focusing on the North American Sasquatch. So most sightings of the Sasquatch happen in the Pacific Northwest, although they have been distributed all over the country. Like I said before, Bigfoot, or the idea of a big, hairy, wild ape man, is popular all over the world. And in America, where before colonization happened, there are many different Native American nations. And even within this one continent, there are many people that believed in similar things, but they were all different as well. Most translations of the names for these creatures translated to either hairy man or wild man. In some legends, they were said to be benevolent and basically shy and just chilled out, while others say they were very malevolent. They were dangerous to come across and you had to be careful around them. So it has become even more popular as time has gone on. Whether or not it is real in the sense of a biological creature, it is certainly real in the hearts and minds of people that want to believe it's real. Shows like Finding Bigfoot and Mountain Monsters have brought even more attention to this legend and the different variations around North America. However, I feel like, at least with Finding Bigfoot specifically, it has added credibility to it where maybe there shouldn't be any, because the BFRO, which is the organization that was shown on Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet, has probably lended a lot more credibility to the legend than is really deserved. And I will fully admit, as a kid, I used to watch every Sunday night when a new episode would come on, because I was just waiting for them to finally find Bigfoot, even though, of course, it never came, and that's why the show kept going on. They either made large jumps in logic when it came to assuming the behavior of this undiscovered creature, or flat out just kind of made stuff up to lend credibility to it, to make it seem like, oh, it's not this myth, it's an actual animal. This is how a huge primate would act if it lived in North America. Which, as a thought experiment, that's fine, but I'm not sure it's exactly healthy. And not shitting on anyone who loves that show, or loved it, or believed it, but essentially no concrete evidence has ever really been found. There have been hair samples that never really turned out to be any unidentified primate. There's never been a body found, though Finding Bigfoot kind of breaches this little issue by saying that Bigfoots are so intelligent that they bury their dead. But considering all of the land development that goes on all the time, and just weathering of stone and soil, I feel like if a very intelligent ape creature living in family groups were burying their dead, I feel like we would probably find evidence of it. So they are said to be omnivorous, hunting deer and eating eggs from birds' nests, while also preying on cattle and also eating berries and other stuff that animals usually eat in the woods. When you start to think of the logistics of a large primate living in North America, it kind of unravels if you think about it a little too long. So in college, I major in something related to animal science. I have to know about population and carrying capacity of an environment, and I have to know about prey density and all this stuff. So basically, our ecosystem over here, because of human development and other stuff, we don't have a great prey density. Okay, a way to explain this in an easier way is to take African lions. So they're bigger than our North American mountain lions. They live in large groups and they're a lot bigger, so obviously they need food. While mountain lions, they're not small, but they're not huge either. The mountain lion has a larger home range because we have a lower prey density, which means while out in Africa, depending on where you are, you're gonna go outside and you're probably gonna see a whole herd of zebra or some other ungulate that a lion can hunt. In a smaller home range, a lion or a pride of lions has enough food to sustain itself. While mountain lions, on the other hand, will have to travel more to get their food. Therefore, they need a larger territory that would hold enough food for them. Now, if you think about a 7 to 12 foot tall primate creature, yes, they can live off of berries and other stuff like that, but at least from what the legend says, they prey on deer. I would think even if they had a diet similar to a bear, they're said to be a lot larger. They would need a lot more food. Also, if deer is one of their main prey items, then that would bring them into a lot of contact and conflict with us because we hunt a lot of deer. There's a lot of conflict between humans and carnivores in a lot of other places because if a lion sees like domesticated cattle, that's an easy meal because the cattle has nowhere to run. So that brings them into a lot of conflict with humans. And I imagine the same thing would happen even more over here just because, one, we have a lot of farmers, but two, we have a lot of hunters. So there's two different scenarios where a Bigfoot would be brought into contact with humans. I don't know. I'm not really buying that they're so secretive and elusive that they'd be able to avoid us while at the same time still getting the prey items that they need when we compete with them. So I believe that most sightings are probably misidentifications, other humans who have been shot because people thought they were Bigfoots. Bears, obviously, I feel like that's the main one that everyone thinks of. Escaped apes from different zoos, or probably more than likely private owners. The last thing I think that can contribute to this is pareidolia. I think I'm saying that wrong, but basically it's the tendency for humans to see human faces and characteristics in inanimate objects or in other beings, basically. So an example of that is like the face on the moon. There's a picture of the moon taken where people saw a human face, while when the light from the sun shifted, it didn't look like a face at all. But because we tend to see ourselves in everything around us, that's what happened. On to the Loch Ness Monster, which I think is even less plausible than the first one. So essentially, everyone knows what the Loch Ness Monster is, although there are many variations around the world, like I said before, so maybe I'll cover them in a different video. But essentially, the Loch Ness Monster is from Scottish folklore about a huge water beast that lives in the water. It comes from a tale from an Irish monk named Saint Columba, who one day stumbled upon a bunch of people burying a body of a dead dude who apparently went swimming in the water and was attacked by a great water demon. So, being the great guy that this saint was, sent one of his followers into the water to lead out the beast, and then before the beast got to him, he made the sign of the cross and he said, "Go no farther, do not touch this man, go back at once." And then apparently the beast was pulled back by invisible ropes and retreated and was never seen again. So people use this as evidence to say, look, there have been accounts of this since the 6th century, while in reality there have been accounts of a lot of stuff. That's how myths start. Ancient humans talk about it and then it's passed down and then we hear about it in modern day. Alright, so some theorized identities of this creature. The one that I find the most stupid is the late surviving plesiosaur theory. So of course, a plesiosaur is a long-necked aquatic reptile that lived millions and millions of years ago and died out during the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. For many, 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 many reasons, this is not real. This is not accurate. For one, Loch Ness has only been around for 10,000 years. 20,000 years before that, it was locked up in ice. It was frozen. Nothing was living in there because it didn't exist yet. Number two, the plesiosaur could not lift its neck out of water because of the arrangement of its bones. And then also, even if you didn't take the bones into account, imagine, one, if this thing wants to stay hidden, why would it raise its neck out of the water all the time and be very visible? And then two, imagine how you feel after you're getting out of a pool. You feel very heavy. So why would a huge creature lift a huge part of its body out of the water for no reason? Animals want to save energy. They want to be as lazy as possible so they have that energy stored. So not really logical. And then the third, this creature would be a lot more commonly seen because plesiosaurs were reptiles. Just like crocodiles, just like lizards and snakes, they breathe air. They need to come up often. They weren't fish. They weren't able to breathe water. So they still needed to come to the surface. All right, the second theory is wakes made by boats and birds and other objects in the water moving very fast. So a lot of the pictures you will see of alleged proof of the Loch Ness Monster are these V-shaped formations in the water. And basically, it's indicating something moving very fast underneath the water. That's what it could be indicating. But more likely, it's the wake of a boat that went by a while ago and the water's still moving in that direction, or of a water bird doing the same thing, basically. This next theory is based off of the famous surgeon's photo. So basically, that photo, even though it was confirmed to be a hoax, it was a toy submarine with plastic on it, and somebody made it completely up, which I find hilarious. It was theorized by someone that this was an elephant bathing in Loch Ness from a local circus, which I thought was an interesting theory, and you can kind of see it looking at the picture, but it's not something I necessarily agree with, though it could have been possible. Like, I don't know what circuses were in the area at the time. Maybe they did let their elephants go in there to bathe. Elephants are actually really good swimmers, which is surprising. So if you see something that looks like the Loch Ness Monster in an area with elephants, it's probably an elephant. Next is a theory, again, from Animal Planet. This is from river monsters, which I hold in a bit higher regard than finding Bigfoot. Jeremy Wade investigated, and he came to the conclusion that maybe some of these sightings that people were seeing were Greenland sharks. What a lot of people don't know is the plesiosaur image that a lot of people think of when it comes to the Loch Ness Monster isn't usually what people actually see. They usually see something big and dark and gray in the water. Usually a large mass or hump in the water, not something sticking its head out of the water like a swan. So he thought maybe it's a Greenland shark. These sharks don't have large dorsal fins. They can go into fresh water, and there's enough fish and other creatures in the lake to sustain a Greenland shark if it wanted to go in there. They can be up to 20 feet long, so they are pretty big. It would be easy to misidentify it as something else if you didn't know they were in the lake at all. Another theory is an unusually large Wells catfish. I guess they are present in the lake, and a few big ones have been caught, and that's basically the entire theory, which kind of believable. And the last one is a giant eel. So a survey on Loch Ness was done using eDNA, or environmental DNA, which is basically DNA left by different organisms in the area. So basically, for humans, eDNA could be the skin flakes that fall off of us every day, or a strand of hair. They found that in Loch Ness there were high amounts of European eel DNA in the lake. And considering that eels are responsible for a lot of sea monster sightings, an unusually large eel that people don't know are in the lake could be responsible for a lot of sightings. And on top of that, actually, no DNA evidence was found for any of the prior theories. Before we move on to our next topic, I just want to remind you guys, if you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell if you want to, and leave a comment of what you guys want to see next time. And the last creature we are going to talk about today is El Chupacabra, or the goat sucker. So as the name suggests, this creature allegedly feeds on the blood of livestock, namely goats. So there are two different versions of this creature, actually. I only knew about the one I'm going to talk about after this one. I don't know when I found out about this first one I'm going to talk about, but it was not something that I was expecting. I thought the main chupacabra image was kind of a mangy dog looking thing. But actually, some accounts of the chupacabra actually look like a lizard creature, or an amalgamation between like a stereotypical alien and a lizard, with spines running down its back and scaly skin. It apparently stands on 2 legs, being between 3 and 4 feet tall, and yeah, it just looks really weird, as you can see from this drawing. Oh yeah, another kind of adorable fact considering it's so tiny, it apparently hops around like a kangaroo, so if you want to take it home like a pet, I see no issue with that. And then the second, and I think at least more popular version of the appearance, is something that looks like a mangy dog or coyote that is seen mostly in the southern states. It has a very pronounced spinal ridge just because it's very emaciated, and it's seen... Do you mind? It also usually has very pronounced eyes, fangs, and claws. So unlike a lot of predatory animals that, you know, would rip into its prey and eat its flesh, the chupacabra is said to drink its blood by puncturing it with 3 different holes and just draining the blood and sometimes the organs of the animals. Now, most animals, like I said, live off of either plant matter or the flesh of other animals. Not many animals are sanguivorous, or not most animals eat blood. Those that do, the one mainly coming to mind is the vampire bat, have a specialized digestive system. So if we as humans tried to live off of drinking blood, very quickly we would be undernourished because we just can't digest it. We don't have the special equipment necessary to. While vampire bats have a very specialized digestive system used to break down and utilize the blood into making more energy for them. Now, I can't speak for any evidence found of the earlier description, but I remember seeing a show, you know, one of those monster hunting shows, where a woman claims to have found the body of a chupacabra. I'm pretty sure it just turned out to be a coyote-dog hybrid with really bad mange. It did look pretty weird. But when she had it analyzed in a lab, nothing ever came out of it, I'm pretty sure, or the results weren't that interesting. I feel like if it was actually confirmed to like be a new species of dog that drinks blood or something like that, it would have been on the news or reported on more than just some random monster hunting show. I'm pretty sure most of these sightings at least are dogs with mange and hybridized canines. So I think my FBI agent is trying to tell me something, because at the bottom of my last search when researching for this video for the chupacabra, it said, "See also," at the bottom of the page. "The skeptical movement is a modern social movement based on the idea of scientific skepticism." First that, and then under my Bohemian Club video, it said, it had one of those things that they put under a lot of videos now that are usually filled with misinformation. I laughed when I saw that under there. Like, damn, they really think I'm a fucking tinfoil head conspiracy theorist over here.